No one expected Garrison Brown to be the one we'd lose. The strong, funny, independent son who always seemed to be pushing forward, building his own life, making people laugh, showing up for his siblings. And yet, behind that smile, something dark was quietly taking hold. When the news broke that Garrison had taken his own life, fans of Sister Wives were in complete shock. It wasn't just a tragic loss. It was the unraveling of a family that, for years, tried to hold it all together in front of the cameras while so much pain was being buried just beneath the surface. From the outside, the Brown family once looked like a functioning, if unconventional group trying their best to raise kids with love and faith. But now, in the devastating aftermath of Garrison's death, we're seeing just how broken things really were behind closed doors. Relationships had already fractured, words had already been left unsaid, and by the time the alarms were sounding, it was already too late. Hi friends, I'm Sophia, and welcome back to TLC's Sister Wives Reality. If you've been following this show from the early seasons to now, then you already know this story has changed, and today it's no longer about marriage drama or Coyote Pass arguments. Today, we're talking about loss, the kind that doesn't just hurt, it haunts. Before we get into the full story, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like the video, and drop your thoughts in the comments, especially if you've been affected by mental health struggles or watch this episode with a heavy heart. I want to hear from you. Today, we're going into the heartbreaking fallout from Garrison Brown's death and the painful truths it forced this family to face. It was supposed to be a normal night. Janelle had texted her son, Garrison, earlier that evening. Just a simple, love you. How was your day? But hours passed and there was no response. That silence echoed louder than any words. Something just didn't sit right, she recalled in the episode, her voice trembling. A mother knows. You just know. She tried again. No reply. Meanwhile, Gabriel, Garrison's younger brother, had been trying to get in touch too. When he couldn't reach him, worry turned to action. He drove to Garrison's home. What he found shattered their world. Garrison was gone. I walked in, and everything stopped. Gabriel said quietly, his words almost a whisper. I knew before I even touched him. He wasn't there anymore. Back at home, Janelle's phone rang. She remembered every detail of that moment, the tone of her son's voice, the pause before the words. I'm so sorry, Mom. He's gone. Janelle didn't scream. She didn't cry at first. I just sank to the floor. It was like the world disappeared around me, she said. You never think it'll be your child. The weight of grief was immediate, raw, and suffocating. He was the strong one, she sobbed. He was supposed to be okay. That night marked a dividing line in their lives, before and after, and for Janelle, nothing would ever be the same. In the aftermath of Garrison's death, Cody Brown's grief surfaced, but so did a complicated web of regret, denial, and emotional distance. On screen, Cody expressed sorrow. I wish I'd had more time with him, he said, his voice cracking. But even in mourning, he struggled to take full responsibility for the rift. We were all just trying to survive during COVID. It tore the family apart, he said, deflecting blame onto the pandemic. What went unsaid spoke volumes. During the height of COVID, Cody's strict household rules and perceived favoritism alienated several of his children, especially Garrison and Gabrielle. The two had tried to reconnect. We reached out, Gabriel once shared in a past episode. We wanted him to just show up, be a dad. But Cody remained distant, buried in logistics and control rather than emotional presence. At the funeral planning, Cody finally cracked. Cameras caught him pacing, holding back tears, unable to speak clearly. I feel like I failed, he muttered. But viewers noticed. His breakdown was steeped in his pain, not Garrison's. He's mourning the idea of being a good father more than he's mourning his son, one fan commented online. Others echoed the sentiment, pointing out that Cody's grief felt performative at times, more about guilt than connection. Still, for all his faults, the moment he broke down beside Janelle, head in his hands, voice shaking, was painfully human. I should have done more, he whispered. But for Garrison, it was too late. And for viewers, Cody's fragmented version of grief became a mirror to the fractured relationships left behind. Janelle's bond with Garrison was deep. Constant check-ins, inside jokes, shared plans. We talked at least 3 times a day, she said softly, tears forming as she looked off camera. He'd call just to tell me about a new plant he bought or a weird meme he saw. It wasn't big stuff, but it was everything. That's what made the silence in his final days so haunting. I didn't know he was hurting that badly, she confessed, her voice raw. He was pulling away, and I thought maybe he was just busy. I didn't push. I didn't think I had to. After his death, Janelle admitted she began to piece together the signs she hadn't wanted to see: his isolation, the occasional heavy drinking, the quiet moments where his smile didn't reach his eyes. I knew he drank, but I didn't know how much. I didn't know it had gotten that bad, she said. He was so good at pretending. The weight of that realization crushed her. As a mom, you think your love can protect them, that just loving them enough will keep them safe. But it doesn't. Not always. In the months following Garrison's death, Janelle's life changed completely. Flagstaff, once a place filled with family and memories, became unbearable. I couldn't be in that house anymore. I'd see his room, his car, the coffee mug he left in the sink. I couldn't breathe. She moved in with her daughter Maddie in North Carolina, needing the comfort of grandchildren and a slower pace to begin the painful process of healing. Maddie saved me, she said. I don't think I'd have made it through those first weeks without her. Even now, every day is a struggle. I'll never be the same, Janelle admitted. There's a hole in me that won't close. But I get up. For him. For the rest of my kids. And though the calls from Garrison no longer come, Janelle still talks to him every day, in her heart. Maddie and Caleb had always held a soft spot for Garrison. To them, he wasn't just a brother or brother-in-law, he was a friend, a protector, a fixture of stability and humor in the chaos of their large, splintered family. When Garrison started to drift during the pandemic, estranged from Cody, living alone in Flagstaff, Maddie and Caleb began urging him to make a change. We wanted him to come here, Maddie said, cradling her youngest child in a quiet interview moment. There was room. He could have had peace, a fresh start. They imagined Garrison building a life in North Carolina. Caleb pictured working on home projects with him. Maddie dreamed of Garrison being a steady presence in her kids' lives, the goofy uncle who brought over snacks and knew how to make them laugh. He was so good with the kids, Maddie recalled. He was calm, patient, gentle. He would have made an amazing dad someday. In their final conversations with him, Maddie said there were signs he was overwhelmed, but nothing that screamed alarm. He talked about being tired, just done with things, she said, tears sliding down her face. I told him to come here, take a break, reset. I thought I had time to convince him. She didn't. When the call came, Maddie was at home with her children. I dropped the phone, she said. I didn't even know I was crying until Caleb came and held me. It didn't feel real. To honor her brother, Maddie made a quiet but profound choice, naming her newborn Joseph Garrison Brush. It wasn't even a question, she explained. Garrison deserved to be remembered every day. He deserved to live on. Naming the baby after Garrison was more than symbolic. It was Maddie's way of keeping her brother close, of weaving his memory into the future he never got to see. He didn't get to start over, she said, but in some way, this is a beginning. A part of him is still here. As she rocked baby Joseph to sleep, Maddie whispered, "He'll grow up knowing who his uncle was, how deeply he was loved, and how much we wish he were still here." In the emotional aftermath of Garrison's death, the already fragile foundation of the Brown family began to fully fracture. Amid the sorrow, Cody sought what he called a spiritual release, an attempt to reconcile the broken pieces of his family through shared mourning and acknowledgement of their losses, including the death of his son. But not everyone was willing to participate. Christine was the first to decline. "I don't need a spiritual release," she said pointedly in a confessional. "I released myself a long time ago." Her refusal was firm, not cold, rooted in years of emotional neglect and manipulation. This isn't about closure. It's about Cody trying to rewrite what happened. For Christine, Garrison's death didn't change the past. It only illuminated it more clearly. She saw the pattern: Cody's emotional distance, his prioritization of Robin and her children, the conditional love he offered his other kids. Garrison wasn't just grieving isolation during COVID, she said. He was grieving the loss of his father long before that. Mary and Janelle, still entangled in the emotional complexity of their spiritual marriages to Cody, found themselves in raw conversations about grief and faith. It makes you question everything, Mary said. What was real? What was just obligation? Janelle nodded, eyes glassy. I believed in it for so long, but love shouldn't make you feel this alone. As Christine moved forward in her life with David, her new husband, she made it clear she wasn't bringing Cody's pain into her future. I choose peace, she said simply. David gives me that. I won't carry someone else's brokenness anymore. The land at Coyote Pass, once the dream of a united Brown family compound, had become a stark symbol of everything that had fallen apart. We all stood on that land once, thinking we'd grow old together, Christine reflected. Now it's just empty dirt. But maybe that's what closure really looks like, walking away from something you thought would save you. Her commentary on Cody's favoritism toward Robin struck a nerve with many viewers. It wasn't just favoritism, Christine explained. It was erasure. The rest of us had to beg for crumbs of attention, and when we asked why, we were labeled as difficult. In the end, Christine found her own closure, not through Cody, not through forgiveness, but through freedom. You can love someone and still know they're not good for you. And sometimes, the most spiritual thing you can do is let go. The devastating loss of Garrison Brown exposed the emotional fractures within the Brown family that had been simmering for years. His death was a stark reminder of the deep pain that can often remain hidden behind the walls of a family, behind the smiles and the attempts to hold things together. For all the love they shared, the Brown family was fractured, not just by their complicated relationships, but by years of unspoken hurt, isolation, and unaddressed emotional needs. Garrison's tragic silence was the ultimate revelation, a cry for help that went unheard until it was too late. The aftermath of this loss left no one untouched. Christine's rejection of Cody's spiritual release, Mary and Janelle's grappling with their connection to a man who had emotionally abandoned them, and Cody's complicated journey through his own grief. It all revealed the raw truth. Even in a family built on promises, sometimes the foundation just isn't enough. No amount of love can heal wounds if the right kind of care and attention isn't given when it's needed most. If you or someone you know is struggling with thoughts of self-harm or emotional distress, please reach out to a loved one, a counselor, or a hotline. There is always hope, and no one should ever have to feel alone in their pain. The silence Garrison felt should serve as a powerful reminder to keep talking, to keep checking in on the people we care about. Garrison's light, his warmth, and his humor were evident to all who knew him. He had so much more life to live, so much potential still untapped. His silence, however, is now a tragic part of his story, a silence that we must all learn from. He leaves behind a legacy of love, laughter, and the stark reminder that we must always look deeper into each other's hearts. Comment your thoughts below, and subscribe to TLC's Sister Wives Reality if you want honest conversations around what really happens behind the scenes. Garrison may be gone, but his story and the lessons it brings will remain with us all.